And so I have my experience in Florida where I just am floating just off of an innocent, surrender. And that's what it is. It's not like I didn't have a roadmap of being like, oh, this is how I get into the kingdom. It was like just me alone with God in the depth of my being like, God, I give it to you. Like I have been holding on to things and I release it. And so that's a way you can get there. But there's another experience that was very powerful, and it had to do with death. And I relate a lot to the Gojo situation because it's similar. I basically got to the point where I was like, oh, I might not wake up tomorrow. And I'm in my bed and I'm just in a very contemplative state because right before then I was out just staring at the stars, and something just hit me like, how can the stars be way out there and I have problems? you know, it's like my problems exist within a 50-mile radius, but there's an infinite amount of space out here. So how significant can my problems be? Like how small is my view of life and my perspective? And I saw how small it was as I was looking at the night sky. And so that kind of shifted me into a dimension of like, whoa, life is kind of strange. And so as I was going to sleep, I was like, what if this is my last night? And I'm having a full on panic attack. I'm like, okay, I could die, wake up the next day. And it's similar, like with Gojo, it's like, I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, everyone's asleep. Like all I could think is like life is strange and no one's talking about it. We're going around do. Oh, you get some Starbucks coffee, or it's like, oh, you see the game last night? It's like, bro, we're floating in on a rock in space, and we're talking about a game. It's like life is insane. and for us to not acknowledge it is the insanity in us. For real,
the only thing that I can visualize is you just grabbing somebody by the shoulder, shaking them real hard, and slapping them like, bro, we're floating on a rock in the middle of nowhere.
It's like, you don't understand. There was a book by Joanne Didion. She's this world famous writer, and she was writing about the passing of her husband. It happened all of a sudden. Like they were just fixing dinner, he dropped, and within minutes he was dead. And she's kind of writing about that experience and what it's like to be a widower and, to experience death like that. And one line that I'll never forget, she said, the shallowness of sanity. That's something she realizes, how shallow our quote unquote sane lives are, that we don't realize, no, at any moment, anything can happen.
Yeah, the scales could be tipped at any moment.
Yeah, and for us to just go around like, like I'm saying, that shows a level of unconsciousness and sleeping. So, the rest we require comes from waking, not sleeping. That's the whole point, is we are here to wake up. That's why this is a university, because everything is shaking us, waking us up, like a world war. That wakes people up. A global, pandemic, that wakes people up. Something happening dramatic in your life, that's a wake up call. It's not just meaningless things just happening. It's all trying to usher us into this great awakening so that we can be like, oh my God, God is here. And suddenly that becomes just such a profound statement. God is here. No longer a theological concept.